Hi, welcome to the 1022 rigger installation. To get started, let's take a look at popping these pins out of the receiver to release the trigger assembly. After you've accomplished that, pull the trigger assembly out, as so, and you will push these pins out in the order that you see here. So as we're pushing these pins out, there will be several parts that you will no longer need after you've removed them. This is a Timney trigger installation, so most of everything that you're going to need is going to be enclosed in the full assembly that it's giving. So you remove all the pins, pull the lever out here, pop out the bolt lock, actually we replaced that with a newer style one when we put it back together. That's the third pin here. Pop that out with a pin punch. And then you'll see that the trigger decocker comes out of there. Spring, things you're not going to need again. Now for this operation you have to lay it down on a bench block or a piece of wood, knock that pin out. This pin is going to remove the trigger itself. There's a spring that needs to be removed at that point. And as you see, it all just pops out of there. Now those are all parts that you're not going to need again. Now at this point, there's a great opportunity to clean after you're done with this operation. Now you're just taking out the magazine release and the peg and spring for the magazine release. And then we clean this all up really good. A great time to clean it all out, scrub it all up. Now this is the new Timney trigger, and we're installing the bolt release. This is a new auto bolt release. It's a one-handed release that I purchased for about $10. You just clip that on there with the spring as so. Now you take your trigger assembly casting and drop that all right back into it. That'll just drop right down in as shown. And you just line it up with the holes right there, and then drive the two pins right on through. And drive the other smaller pin through. Get it lined up properly. Tap that in. There you go. And then just a little lever back in and drive that back in. Now that's that's the same part as that came out. Drop that right back in there. Knock it into place. And now all you gotta do is drive the pin and line that up with the magazine release and the auto bolt release. You just kind of line that pin up with that, get that all, so where you get that in place, got to play with it a little bit, get that in there. Just line that up. It's a little bit better if you do it upside down, and just find the hole for that right there and push it through. and tap it into place. Now you have your magazine release back, trigger assembly all in. It's pretty much all put together now. I mean, it's operates all just real fine. And make sure that lever's up there. It fell back into place. You gotta get that. It lays right in there. Yep, like that. And so there you go. That's all there is to it. Now there's a next operation here though that we need to take care of. There's two little set screws that need to be snugged right there on each side of that spring there. The spring goes over them. Two little set screws. You got to snug those down, and then you have two locking screws that are going to go in over the top of it. And so we take these little locking screws. Probably better if you put this in a vise when you do it. Put it in a vise so you can hold it, so you can use screwdriver in one hand to kind of move the spring over, and then you just run these little locking screws down on top of the other set screw. What that does is it puts pressure down in the bottom of the casting, pushes the trigger assembly up onto the pins, and it's sure not going to go anywhere. So if you had this in a vise, it would work a whole lot better by moving that spring over to the side and dropping the set screw down on top of it, and then just till you touch. Then after that, the trigger assembly goes back into the receiver. Put the pins back in. And there you go. Now we are going to test the trigger pull afterwards. It's reported to be about 2.5 pound trigger. So we'll do some tests and take an average. We're not going to bore you with every one of those, but we'll do a test here. And pull and brakes, just over 3 pounds. And the final average was just 3.07 pounds of 5 pulls of the trigger. And there you go.